We hear a lot about how birth circumstances may impact milk production, and I want to have an informed conversation about it. Generally speaking, the less interventions that we have during birth, we put ourselves in a more advantageous position physiologically for lactation and lactogenesis. That being said, there are a number of instances when birth interventions are required or chosen out of preference, and knowing what potential impacts they may have and how to counteract those potential impacts is important. For instance, in the instance of C-sections, there's a higher risk for delayed onset of lactogenesis 2, which is that transition from colostrum to mature milk, which should start within the first 72 hours postpartum. With C-sections, we can see a delay in that mature milk transition, which carries a higher risk of low milk supply. Most likely because we're missing out on some of those crucial days to prime those prolactin receptor sites and get them sufficient signaling to let them know we need them up and running. To combat this increased risk of delayed onset of lactogenesis 2, if a C-section is desired or needed, harvesting colostrum in pregnancy or utilizing hand expression frequently within the first 3 days can be a really supportive practice. Whether baby is born vaginally or by C-section, we know that early initiation of breastfeeding supports milk production. So this means latching or expressing to stimulate supply within the first hour after birth. Scientific literature on the use of analgesics during labor, like epidurals, is not entirely conclusive, though epidural use generally comes with an increase in Pitocin use, which is synthetic oxytocin, which may have a marginal impact on establishing lactation in the very beginning. The use of IV fluids during labor may also increase infant weight loss, but generally only about 1.5%. For those of us who are GBS positive or utilizing epidural for pain management, this is something to be mindful of as we're keeping an eye on infant weight loss postpartum. Most medical agencies indicate supplementing is necessary when infant weight loss reaches 7 to 10%. And in the instance where IV fluids have been utilized, some providers are more comfortable waiting to supplement until the upper range, or just beyond the upper range of this. All this being said, birth interventions in and of themselves do not cause low milk supply. Rather, birth circumstances can be another avenue we look at when we're planning supportive measures for future lactation. Personally, I've had all sorts of births with all sorts of interventions, and I find that any interventions can usually be offset by other complementary practices such as harvesting colostrum, hand expressing in addition to nursing early postpartum, and really focusing on those frequent and efficient feeds. The next chapter will cover how to supplement while supporting lactation, but some birth circumstances you may want to consider for yourself might include prioritizing a vaginal birth with lower intervention, but being mindful of what your needs are. After 3 babies, I can tell you birth plans change often, and this is a smaller checkmark on the list to consider, but one nonetheless. At the end of the day, I want you empowered, present, and safe within your birthing experience, and those are the factors that I find to be most important.